All right, Dr. Crew, I was reading over something the hospital sent to us, and you've been busy since a very young age, since I believe
Yes.
6, I was reading. Tell me just
Well, before then, I was
before
6 months
then.
old when my parents, were into the mission field. So that was pretty much my entire childhood until I was 17.
Like I was thinking, I was reading your stuff and thinking about my childhood. I was playing Nintendo and worrying about what I was getting for Christmas and what happened on the playground. And you were worried about making sure people could understand your parents and helping your mom and helping your dad. Uh, you got a really quick start at what it feels like to help other people. So take me back to that. Take me back to such a young age. And where were you? What's the first place you remember and the first thing you remember doing?
Yeah, so the first country that I lived in was Peru, and so it was, I had Portuguese as my home language, and so that's what my parents spoke at home to us. But then everyone around us spoke Spanish, and so I very quickly had to learn how to be bilingual pretty much before kindergarten. Had to sort of manage those two languages, those two different cultures, different food. People just look different, than me, and so you're going into a new school in kindergarten with people that just look very different than you do and speak a different language than you do, and the vowels sound different, and the words are different. And so I had to very quickly learn how to be a chameleon, right? And how to blend in and how to adapt and how to make this new place home very quickly. And then learn about what that culture is about so that when, I would go over to help my parents when they would do their mission work, then I could be, useful and helpful, because the mission work was not just what my parents did, it's what my whole family did. And so we were all very involved. So, me and my brothers would be teaching little kids the Bible stories, and we would be leading worship in the church, because my dad was the pastor, my mom was a Sunday school teacher. My dad played the guitar, my mom played the piano, and we sang and played whatever instruments we could find. And so, it was just a big family affair, is to pour our lives into others. And so that was very quickly something that became very ingrained in me, is, that was my life purpose, is to take the baton from my parents and continue this legacy of, pouring my life into making sure that we take care of both the basic needs, the spiritual needs, and the physical needs of others.
Wow, I mean, what a journey right off the bat. You didn't even have time to get your feet wet. Just hey, learn another language and start helping.
Mhm.
That's amazing. When you look back at that, those are good memories, right? You
They're
sound
great
very,
memories.
very
I really had a phenomenal childhood. I feel like my kids are missing out on some of the cool stuff that I got to do, and the things that I got to see. But we tried to to teach our this next generation of children what it's like to be humble, to be meek, to be servant leaders. And so we tried to model that in our behavior. But a lot of the things that I do with my kids is I show them videos of what it was like, to live in a third world country and to take care of those kind of people. And the people that we took care of was kind of neat, because they were indigenous people. So when we were in Peru, we worked a lot with the Incas. So that's kind of like the Mayans in Mexico. And so they were still worshiping the sun and the moon and the stars, right? And so that's a huge culture shock from coming, from not doing that, right? And so it was really kind of a very neat experience to see these people that are still sort of living in that mentality. So, to bring them the gospel of Jesus Christ was pretty transformational for them, to know that there is a higher power that actually cares about them and is not just providing sun and rain and fertility.
I can't get over it. I can't get them over. Like, I grew up in church too, but my church experience was, laying on my mom's lap and coloring in the pew while they listened, and you were out there getting it done. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was doing door-to-door evangelism as early as I can remember. memorizing Bible verses and just talking about, just the goodness of God and what it's like to have a relationship with God. So it's just a way of life. It's not just a badge that I would wear to just say I'm a Christian. I mean, you really had to live it out because otherwise people wouldn't believe it, right?
That's what he
So it
calls us
was,
to do, right? Get
yeah,
out there and spread the word, spread his
yeah. Yeah, and that was my parents' whole mission. Their whole thing was love in action, right? So it wasn't about just loving people or just telling them about God. It's, when they're in that dental chair and you are removing this tooth that has been causing them pain for months and months, and you're doing it for free, right? You're not charging them anything, you're not expecting anything in return. And so then people would be there and say, "Why are you doing this?" And then the answer would always be, "We love you because God loved us first." And so then that just opens up the door of like, tell me about this God that, makes you want to give up the ability to make money and the ability to support your family in order to come and serve us here when our own government isn't taking care of us, right? And so that just opens up the door in such a tangible way, because when you're able to really take care of people when they're hurting and when they're in need, and you're meeting those very basic needs, a relationship is instantly made in that way that you can't make in any other way. And if you've ever suffered a loss, and you've talked to someone who suffered a similar loss, you feel this bond with them, right? And so this is very similar. So when you're able to take care of somebody when they're hurting, you feel a bond to them, and then that just opens up a trust and a relationship that opens up, for God to do amazing things in people's lives.
Well, you are a part of our Hispanic Heritage Special that we're doing, and you said their mission was love in action, but it was actually translated. So they used a different translation, correct?
Amor en acción. Ujú.
Say it again for me.
Amor en acción.
Okay. I want to make sure I say that properly when I'm doing this story. Go back and tell me. I read the little synopsis that uh, Megan sent to me, and you remember, like, your mom was a dentist, you said, and
Mhm.
you remember working right along
Oh
with her.
yeah.
She's got a mouth wide open on the table. Take me back to that.
So, oh, hey Megan. So when you're a dentist, there's a lot of extra hands that you need to pass you tools, and to do a lot of the suction, which, because the spit kind of gets all in the way when you're trying to take care of stuff. And so, very quickly, my brothers were like, "Nope, not doing it." We're not going to get anywhere close to that. So I stepped in, and I was my mom's dental assistant for a long time
How old?
until, yeah, for probably until I was like 12. And then we started recruiting physicians to come and help with the medical side. So my dad was a nurse, so he couldn't prescribe any medications and he couldn't diagnose anything. So he could just give them like education, and he can do some wound care, and he could start an IV. So there's some things that he could do, but there was a lot of things that he couldn't do. And so when we started getting physicians to come, then there were American physicians that would come, and would need a translator, or they would need also an assistant to help them be able to write the prescriptions in Spanish. And so then I sort of like hopped on from the dental side to the medical side. And then I just like fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, I do not want to do dentistry. Like, I'm happy to help, but this is not for me. I really enjoyed just the critical thinking, the problem solving, that is involved in medicine. And so I remember telling my mom at 12 years old, like, "I'm sorry, mom, to disappoint you, but I'm gonna go be a doctor." And so,
It's just a conversation no 12-year-old has ever had with, mom, I can't help you with
yeah,
right
sorry.
now.
It's just, you'll have to find another victim
I need to get help,
to help
dad,
you with your
diagnose.
dental assisting. And so, but by that point, there was enough other people that, were actually interested in dentistry that actually were her assistants. So it wasn't a huge loss. I think, like, emotionally, it was a loss for her to not have, be able to pass that to me. But she's really, really proud of me being a physician, and all the things that I've accomplished in my career. So I think we're at peace with that now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So you said you jumped over, you fell in love with the medical profession and you were helping your dad. What is life like, at 12 and 13 now? Going forward, you've kind of found your route.
Yep. So then it is just, really focusing on school and making good grades and really diving into those science classes and understanding how the body works and, and how the cells work and all of that kind of stuff. And then just really, trying to really get a grasp on human physiology and, why people make the decisions that they do. So with my dad being a pastor and a nurse, a lot of the counseling that he would do with the patients that would come would be on, diet and exercise. And, you have these people that are climbing mountains just to get from point A to point B to get water, to get food. And so just things like stretching just to prevent back pain or, how to do different things differently so that you don't hurt your body. And so those were all really good practical experiences on the importance of education in healthcare, right? And so it's not just about prescribing medications, but it's about how do you do this shared decision making with the patients so they have this buy-in so that they can actually make changes that are going to be in their best benefit in the long run so they can prevent further injury.
All right, Dr. Crew, like we mentioned, at a very young age, you started, realizing what life is all about, what it's like to give back and help others. You've since transitioned into, you're right here with us in the United States. What's it like I mean, you're still helping people, you're just doing it in a different place. How do you
Mm-hmm.
take what you learned at such a young age and implement it now in your profession?
Well, I mean, to me, the mission field is not specific to third world countries, right? The need is everywhere. So this is my mission field. So Waco is the place that I have chosen to serve people. And so this is where God has brought me, and I'm gonna just bloom where He has planted me. And so I'm gonna continue to serve people exactly the same as I did, when I was a kid, but I'm just doing it with more knowledge, with more years of experience and with more support from my colleagues and all of the specialists that we have in the area. So I feel just very blessed every day. I just wake up and I'm just thankful I get to do what I do for a living because it is a privilege, an honor to just get to be a servant leader.
In the bio I was reading, it also said that you're not just medically helping people, you help with some of the tougher stuff. You help with uh delivering bad news to people. You help with
Mhm.
translation. So you're still having to, just like when you were a kid, kind of bridge the gap with language. You're still working with that now.
Yep. And that's a big passion of mine is to provide that ability for the Hispanic patients that come in to see me to be able to know that I've been there, right? So it's not just that I've visited Mexico. I lived in Mexico. So I know the diet, I know the routines, I know what kind of vegetables they like, and I know what kind of meat they prepare. And so having that firsthand knowledge of understanding their culture and understanding their food really helps me be able to counsel them when it comes to the diet. So it's not just to say stop eating tortillas altogether, right? But it's about how can we substitute this for something that's better, that's healthier, and how can we continue eating the food that you enjoy that is meaningful to you in a healthier and better way. So having lived in that culture and having, lived in those shoes really has helped me be able to, bridge that gap in such a more meaningful way.
Yeah, I'm learning more and more every day about the Hispanic culture, and you don't take away their tortillas. I mean, it's like they're pork in many cases. They'd rather not have
Right.
pork. They'd rather scoop it up. And so when their dietary restrictions calls for something, with less carbs or whatever,
Hmm.
that could be a difficult
It's
transition.
a challenge.
Well, tell me, what it's like on your day-to-day basis, and what do you think about being a part of our Hispanic Heritage Special? We're trying to highlight and pinpoint the bright lights in that culture that's in our region, and you're certainly one of those.
Yeah, I mean it's my day-to-day life is, you wake up when I go to clinic and I take care of people. Another neat thing is that I got involved here in Waco very early on after I moved here 3 years ago, is I also started playing soccer in a Hispanic women's soccer league
Wow.
on Fridays. I didn't put that in my bio. But my kids play soccer, and I played a lot of soccer when I was growing up too. And I played in college for a little bit. So that was just another way of just connecting with the Hispanic community, and made a lot of, really good friendships. And as I go out into the soccer fields, now 3 years later, a lot of them will come up, and then we'll go walk, around the fields while the kids are practicing. And so I'm just always looking for ways of being able to connect with the Hispanic people, whatever way that I can. And I know that there's also a financial restriction for a lot of them to be able to see the doctor. And so I'm always looking for practical ways of them being able to get their mammograms and being able to get their pap smears. And so I'm always on the lookout for community resources and things where I can give them some suggestions of where they can get things at a lower cost.
Right. You mentioned at the beginning you spoke Portuguese as a child, and then you
Mhm.
learned Spanish, and now you and I are talking in English. So are we at three? Or are there any more you got in there?
No, that's it, just three.
The three?
I I stopped at three, but my parents both speak five, so they've set a bar higher than I can reach, but I'm pretty proficient in all three, so I'll just stick with that for now.
Okay, so a family get together, a Thanksgiving dinner with you and your parents and your siblings.
Hmm.
What's that like? Where do you go? What
Oh, it's
language is
fun. It's
spoken?
it's loud. There's a lot of conversation. There is multiple languages and conversations going on in multiple languages. So my husband is American, so he does not speak Portuguese. So
He's
he will
lost.
be he's not lost. I mean, he kind of we've been married now for 16 years, so he understands a little bit. So he'll grab one of my brothers, and they'll be talking about football, and then me and my dad, or me and my mom, will be talking in Portuguese. And then my kids, of course, are speaking in English with each other. So it's multiple languages, multiple conversations going on all at the same time. But now that we've lived here in the US for the last 24 years, we primarily speak in English, but my parents, interestingly enough, they will only speak to me in Portuguese. So when I call them on the phone to, check in or to say hi, it is exclusively in Portuguese that they speak to me, so that I don't lose it, right? So that's, one of the things that's very important. And then I make a point to continue to listen to Brazilian music, just so that I can keep my ear in tune to the Portuguese. But outside of my parents, I don't really speak Portuguese to anybody else. There is a Brazilian community here in Waco, and we've gotten together about twice in the last 3 years, mostly because of COVID has restricted us from getting together. But there's about 13 families, and so I have also tried to connect with some of the Brazilian families in the Waco region as well. I've now transitioned to only being in the clinic on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then on Wednesdays and Thursdays I teach at the Baylor College of Medicine in Temple. So that's a new role that I've took on about a year ago. And so that's so education is, like I mentioned earlier, is a big important part of something I'm very passionate about. And so in this role, I get to there's two roles that I hold with the Baylor College of Medicine. One is I teach first year medical students all their clinical skills. And then the second one is that I'm the director of the family medicine clerkship. And so this allows me to be able to pour into these medical students and try to recruit more of them into coming into family medicine and primary care in particular. And so this is me now taking everything that I've learned and trying to pass it to that next generation of future physicians, and teaching them about compassion and caring, and how to touch patients, and how to talk to patients, and how to listen. All of those very important skills that I'm hoping we can instill in this next generation of physicians, so that they can then take care of people in the future.
It's amazing. It's great when you have a great doctor, but every now and then you'll move to a place and you'll have a doctor that he or she might be knowledgeable, but they don't talk much, and you could be left uncomfortable. So that's I never knew that that was a skill that you guys walk through on how to make the patient comfortable.
Well, yeah, and this is something that's really big for Baylor College of Medicine is we get the medical students into the clinic on the second week of medical school. And that makes, that medical school very unique is because we're getting them that very early clinical experience that is going to sort of break a lot of those, uncomfortable boundaries. And, we're teaching them how to have those difficult conversations with patients. We're teaching them how to, do smoking cessation or obesity conversations with those patients. And so, we're teaching them all of those skills. So by the time that they start their clinical rotations, they're much more prepared to, go in and, and see patients in a way that makes them feel comfortable. And so, like I said, education is a big part of, something that I'm passionate about. And so I'm really excited to get to do both of these roles here in Waco. It's really a dream come true to be able to teach, even just on a part-time basis. I love it.
Well, I have no doubt you'll be successful, and I look forward to putting this story together. And again, anytime you have something going on, you've got something cool you're about to cover in class, or if you're about to go whip somebody's butt on the soccer field, just let me know, and we want to get some video of what
Yeah.
got going on.
One of the things that I hope to be able to do in the future is to be able to take some of these medical students on mission trips and be able to give them some of that experience, as well as teaching them some medical Spanish that will allow them to be able to reach those communities. With the medical school being somewhat new in Temple, so this is only our second year, that we haven't quite gotten to a point of being able to do those international mission trips, but we're going to be working on doing that as some of their electives, is to do some 1 or 2 week mission trips in the future. So I'm excited about being able to sort of like bridge those two loves of mine together.